The Council demanded vengeance. Earth answered with one soldier HFY Sci-Fi story. The massive War Council chamber aboard the flagship Eternal Justice stretched across 3 levels, its crystalline walls pulsing with angry red light as representatives from 47 alien species gathered for what would be remembered as the most decisive military meeting in galactic history. Admiral Cortax of the Valorian Empire stood at the central podium, his 4 arms gesturing dramatically as he addressed the assembled fleet commanders, his voice carrying the weight of righteous fury to every corner of the enormous room. Brothers and sisters of the Galactic Alliance, Cortax began, his metallic voice resonating through translation devices. We have tolerated humanity's arrogance for the last time. 3 days ago, they destroyed our mining operation on Kepler 442b, killing 12,000 innocent workers from 7 different species, all because they claimed the planet belonged to their protected zone. General Vextar, a towering insectoid warrior whose species had conquered 17 star systems, clicked his mandibles in agreement. The humans think they can dictate terms to the galaxy because they control a few dozen worlds? We have fleets that could glass their entire territory in a matter of weeks. Dr. Zelani, the Ethereal Collective's chief military strategist, floated in her containment sphere, her gaseous form shifting between colors as she spoke. General Vexitar speaks truth, but we must consider the tactical implications. Human space has been closed to us for 2 centuries. We know nothing of their current military capabilities or defensive strategies. The chamber fell silent as everyone remembered the stories passed down from their ancestors about the early days of galactic expansion. Every major species had attempted to establish relations with humanity at least once in the past 2 centuries. All had been politely but firmly turned away at the edge of human space, not because humans fought back with massive armies or devastating weapons, but because something always went wrong. Ships would suffer mysterious system failures. Crews would report strange dreams and voices. Some explorers would return speaking of lights in the darkness and whispers that followed them across the void. There is more, Admiral Cortax continued, his 4 eyes blazing with determination. Yesterday, a human diplomatic vessel arrived at Nexus Station carrying a single representative. She calls herself Ambassador Sarah Chen, and she comes with what she terms Earth's final response to our ultimatum. On the main display screen, an image appeared of a woman with dark hair and calm brown eyes. She wore a simple black uniform with no military decorations or symbols of rank. Her expression was serene, almost peaceful, despite the fact that she was surrounded by the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. This is what humanity sends to face our combined might? General Vexitar laughed, the sound like grinding metal. 1 woman in a ship barely larger than a fighter craft? Their arrogance knows no bounds. Commander Thies of the reptilian hegemony, whose species had never lost a ground war in 3 millennia, leaned forward in his command chair. Admiral, what exactly did this Ambassador Chen say when she delivered Earth's response? Admiral Cortax's expression grew darker. She said, and I quote, "The Galactic Alliance has demanded vengeance for an incident that was clearly marked as a boundary violation. Earth acknowledges your demand and will provide satisfaction according to ancient warrior traditions. We offer single combat between our finest warrior and yours. If your champion wins, humanity will submit to Alliance authority. If our champion wins, the Alliance will respect human territorial sovereignty for the next 1,000 years." The chamber erupted in angry voices as representatives from dozens of species demanded immediate military action. Some shouted that humanity's offer was an insult to their collective power. Others argued that accepting such a challenge would make them look weak to the galaxy's minor species. "Silence," Admiral Cortax commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "There is more to consider. Ambassador Chen also stated that if we refuse the challenge and attack human space directly, they will respond with what she called total war protocols. She provided no details about what this means, but her certainty was unsettling. Dr. Zelani's gaseous form shifted to a worried purple color. "Admiral, our intelligence networks have been trying to penetrate human space for 2 centuries without success. We know they have advanced technology, but we do not know how advanced. What if this single combat offer is not arrogance, but confidence? General Vexitar's mandibles clicked with amusement. Doctor, you give these humans too much credit. They control 43 worlds compared to our combined territories of over 10,000 systems. Even if their individual warriors are skilled, what can one soldier do against the combined might of the galaxy? Commander Thace nodded in agreement. The reptilian hegemony has never been defeated in individual combat. Our champion, Warmaster Krex, has killed warriors from 37 different species. He stands 9 feet tall, has natural armor plating, and reflexes faster than most species' neural processing speed. If humanity wants to settle this through single combat, they will learn why the hegemony has conquered half the outer rim. The debate continued for hours as military leaders argued over whether to accept humanity's challenge or simply crush their territory with overwhelming force. Some species wanted to use the opportunity to study human capabilities. Others saw it as a chance to demonstrate galactic superiority to watching civilizations throughout the galaxy. Finally, Admiral Cortax called for a vote. All in favor of accepting humanity's challenge and selecting our finest warrior for single combat? The result was unanimous. Every species wanted to see their champion humiliate the arrogant humans in front of the watching galaxy. Within hours, the massive Alliance fleet moved toward the coordinates Ambassador Chen had provided, an ancient asteroid field that had once been a planet, now serving as neutral ground for the combat. The asteroid chosen for the battle was roughly the size of a small moon, with artificial atmosphere generators and gravity fields installed for the occasion. As the Alliance fleet took position, a single human ship approached from the opposite direction. It was sleek and simple, its hull a matte black that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Unlike the massive Alliance vessels, bristling with weapons and armor, the human ship looked almost fragile by comparison. Unknown human vessel, Admiral Cortax broadcast on all frequencies. This is the combined fleet of the Galactic Alliance. You will identify your champion and prepare for combat according to the agreed terms. A calm voice responded immediately. Alliance fleet, this is Major Marcus Stone aboard the vessel Quiet Thunder. I am humanity's representative for this combat. I will be ready to begin in 10 minutes. General Vexitar studied the readings from his tactical sensors with growing confusion. Admiral, our scanners show only one life sign aboard the human vessel. They really are sending a single warrior to face Warmaster Krex. Dr. Zelani's containment sphere pulsed with nervous energy. Something feels wrong about this, Admiral. Why would they send only one ship, one warrior to face our combined fleet? Either they are supremely confident or supremely foolish. On the asteroid's surface, a circular arena had been prepared with barriers to contain the combat and broadcasting equipment to transmit the battle to every world in Alliance space. Warmaster Krex stood at one end of the arena, his massive form covered in natural armor plating that could deflect energy weapons. His claws were sharp enough to cut through metal, and his reflexes had made him legendary throughout the galaxy. At the other end of the arena, a figure in simple combat armor stood waiting. Major Marcus Stone was average height for a human, with brown hair and steady green eyes. His armor was matte black like his ship, with no visible weapons or technological enhancements. Compared to the terrifying Warmaster Krex, he looked almost absurdly outmatched. Combat will begin when both warriors confirm their readiness, Admiral Cortax announced to the watching galaxy. Victory conditions are simple. Combat continues until one warrior yields or dies. No outside interference will be permitted. Warmaster Krex roared his acceptance, the sound echoing across the asteroid's surface like thunder. The massive warrior's claws extended as he prepared to end this fight quickly and brutally. Major Stone simply nodded once and said quietly, I am ready. The moment combat began, Warmaster Krex charged across the arena with speed that seemed impossible for something his size. His claws extended, his massive bulk moving like a living missile aimed directly at the human warrior who stood waiting without apparent concern. What happened next defied every tactical analysis and combat prediction the Alliance had made. Major Stone didn't dodge or retreat. Instead, he stepped forward to meet Krex's charge, and as the two warriors closed distance, something extraordinary occurred. The air around Major Stone began to shimmer like heat waves, and War Master Krex's unstoppable charge simply stopped. The massive warrior hung suspended in midair, 3 feet from his target, struggling against an invisible force that held him completely motionless. His claws scraped against nothing, his powerful legs kicked at empty air, but he could not move forward or backward. "What is happening?" Admiral Cortax demanded from his command bridge. "Our sensors show no energy signatures, no force fields, no technology that could restrain War Master Krex." Dr. Zelani's gaseous form shifted to alarm yellow. "Admiral, I am detecting massive quantum field fluctuations around the human warrior, but they follow no known patterns. It is as if reality itself is bending around him." On the arena floor, Major Stone walked calmly around the suspended War Master Krex, studying him with the same detached interest a scientist might show when examining an interesting specimen. When he spoke, his voice carried clearly across the arena, despite being barely above a whisper. "War Master Krex of the reptilian hegemony," Major Stone said politely, "you are an impressive warrior by any standard. Your species has conquered many worlds through strength and skill. But you fight with your body, your claws, your natural weapons. Humanity learned long ago that the greatest weapon is the mind itself." He gestured with one hand, and War Master Krex was gently lowered to the ground, still unable to move but now standing upright. The massive warrior's eyes showed confusion and growing fear as he realized his situation. "I could kill you instantly," Major Stone continued, his tone remaining conversational and calm. "I could stop your heart, shut down your nervous system, or simply will your consciousness to cease. But humanity does not take life unnecessarily. Instead, I offer you a choice." The barriers containing the arena began to crack under some invisible pressure. Alliance sensors throughout the fleet registered impossible readings as the quantum fabric of space around the asteroid began fluctuating in ways that violated known physics. "You can yield this combat and return to your fleet with the knowledge that humanity prefers peace to war," Major Stone said. "Or you can continue fighting, and I will demonstrate why Earth answered your demand for vengeance with only one soldier." War Master Krex struggled to speak through whatever force held him. "What are you?" Major Stone's expression remained gentle, almost sad. "I am what humanity has become in 2 centuries of isolation, War Master. We did not spend that time hiding from the galaxy because we feared you. We stayed separate because we feared what we might do to you if you forced us to act." He raised his other hand, and suddenly every Alliance ship in the fleet began experiencing system failures. Weapons powered down, shields flickered, and navigation systems reported impossible readings. The massive fleet that had come to witness humanity's humiliation found itself completely helpless. "This is impossible," General Vexitar shouted over the communications chaos. "No single being can affect technology across an entire fleet. Our ships are separated by thousands of kilometers." Major Stone heard the transmission and responded calmly. "General Vexitar, your species measures power by the size of armies and the strength of weapons. Humanity learned to measure power by the depth of consciousness and the strength of will. I am not affecting your technology. I am asking it to rest, and it is choosing to comply." Dr. Zelani's readings were going completely haywire. "Admiral, the quantum signatures I am detecting suggest that this human is somehow connected to the fundamental forces that govern reality itself. If this is what one human soldier can do, what could their entire species accomplish?" On the asteroid, Major Stone walked closer to the still immobilized War Master Krex. When he spoke, his words carried not just to the arena, but to every ship in the Alliance fleet, despite having no visible communication equipment. 200 years ago, humanity experienced what we call the Great Awakening, he said, his voice reaching across space as if he were standing beside each listener. "We learned that consciousness is not produced by the brain, but is a fundamental force of reality, like gravity or electromagnetism. Human minds learn to interact directly with quantum fields, to influence matter and energy through focused intention." He gestured to the cracked arena barriers, which began repairing themselves under his gaze. "We discovered that the universe responds to consciousness, That reality itself can be shaped by minds that understand its true nature. Your species developed technology to extend your physical capabilities. We developed consciousness to transcend physical limitations entirely. The fleet's communication systems crackled as Admiral Cortax managed to establish contact. Major Stone, if humanity possesses such power, why did you not use it to prevent the mining incident? Why allow the conflict to escalate to this point? Major Stone's expression grew sad. Because, Admiral, we hoped the galaxy would eventually learn wisdom. The mining operation on Kepler 442b was not just a boundary violation. It was destroying a world where consciousness itself was beginning to emerge. The planet was alive, developing awareness, and your machines were killing it slowly. He touched War Master Krex gently on the forehead, and the massive warrior's eyes widened as he suddenly experienced a flood of sensations he had never imagined. For a brief moment, Krex felt the consciousness of every living thing in the star system, the awareness of planets, the thoughts of distant creatures, the pain of worlds being strip-mined for resources. This is what humanity sees when we look at the galaxy, Major Stone said softly. A vast web of consciousness, with some species beginning to awaken to their true nature, while others remain focused on physical conquest and material wealth. We stayed isolated not from arrogance, but from compassion, because we knew that forced awakening can destroy minds that are not ready. The invisible force holding War Master Krex released him, and the massive warrior stumbled backward, his eyes still wide with shock from the experience he had just shared. When he spoke, his voice was different, softer, more thoughtful than before. I felt it, Krex whispered. The pain of dying worlds, the fear of conquered species, the loneliness of consciousness trapped in material form. How do you bear such awareness? With great care and greater responsibility, Major Stone replied. This is why Earth answered your demand for vengeance with one soldier, War Master. Not because we lack armies or weapons, but because we have moved beyond the need for such things. One awakened consciousness can accomplish what entire fleets cannot. He turned to address the Alliance fleet directly, his words somehow reaching every ship simultaneously. Admiral Cortax, General Vexitar, Dr. Zelani, honored representatives of the Galactic Alliance, you came here seeking to punish humanity for protecting a developing consciousness. Instead, you have witnessed what your species could become if you chose evolution over conquest. The Alliance fleet systems gradually came back online, but the demonstration had left its mark. Across 47 different species, military leaders who had never known fear were questioning everything they thought they understood about power and warfare. Dr. Zelani was the first to respond, her gaseous form shifting through complex patterns of color that indicated deep thought. Major Stone, are you saying that other species can develop these consciousness abilities? Every intelligent species has the potential, Major Stone replied gently, but it requires abandoning the belief that consciousness is separate from reality, that minds are isolated from the universe they inhabit. It requires understanding that true strength comes not from dominating others, but from harmonizing with the deeper patterns of existence. Admiral Cortax's voice carried new respect when he spoke. If humanity possesses such capabilities, why do you limit yourselves to 43 worlds? You could rule the entire galaxy. Major Stone smiled, and for a moment his expression reminded every listener of a patient teacher speaking to eager students. Admiral, you still think in terms of ruling and being ruled. Awakened consciousness has no desire to control others. It seeks only to nurture the growth of awareness wherever it appears. Humanity guards its territory not to exclude the galaxy, but to provide a safe space for consciousness to develop naturally. Commander Thiss, who had remained silent throughout the demonstration, finally spoke. What happens now, Major Stone? Our fleets came here to force humanity's submission. Instead, we have learned that you possess power beyond our comprehension. What happens now, Major Stone said, is the same thing that was always going to happen. You return to your worlds and the galaxy continues its slow evolution toward greater awareness. Some species will begin to develop their consciousness abilities naturally, Others will continue to focus on technology and conquest. Humanity will continue to watch and wait, offering guidance to those ready to receive it. He began walking toward his ship, but paused to address War Master Krex one final time. War Master, you have experienced something that few beings ever will, a glimpse of unified consciousness. You can return to your old ways of thinking, or you can begin to explore what you felt today. The choice is yours. Krex stood silently for a long moment, his massive form trembling slightly as he processed the experience. When he spoke, his voice carried new depth and understanding. Major Stone, if I chose to learn more about these consciousness abilities, would humanity teach me? Consciousness cannot be taught like a skill or technique, Major Stone replied kindly. It can only be awakened through patient practice and gradual understanding. But yes, War Master, humanity would guide any being who sincerely seeks greater awareness. That is why we exist. As Major Stone's ship prepared to depart, Admiral Cortax made one final transmission. Major Stone, the Alliance came here seeking vengeance, but we are leaving with questions we never knew to ask. Will humanity consider establishing formal relations with species that wish to learn from your example? The human ship paused in its departure, hovering silently in space for several moments before Major Stone responded. Admiral, humanity has been waiting 2 centuries for the galaxy to ask that question. When your species are ready to approach consciousness development with genuine humility and respect for all life, we will be here. The sleek black ship disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the Alliance fleet alone with their thoughts and their completely transformed understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. 3 months later, a small diplomatic station opened at the edge of human space, staffed by volunteers from 17 different Alliance species who had requested consciousness development training. Dr. Zelani was among the first students, her natural state as a gaseous being making her particularly sensitive to quantum field fluctuations. War Master Krex resigned his military position and established a warrior philosopher school in his homeworld, teaching combat techniques that incorporated consciousness awareness. His students learned to fight not just with claws and strength, but with focused intention and harmony with their opponents. Admiral Cortax quietly began studying human philosophy and meditation practices, trying to understand how consciousness could transcend the limitations of physical existence. His flagship, Eternal Justice, was renamed Eternal Learning to reflect his new priorities. The Galactic Alliance's military buildup dissolved as species after species began to question whether conquest and domination were truly signs of strength or merely symptoms of unconscious fear. Some worlds chose to focus on consciousness development, others continued with technological advancement. But the old assumption that military power determined a species' worth had been forever shattered. In human space, life continued as it always had, with one significant change. The isolation that had lasted 2 centuries was slowly ending, not through conquest or force, but through the patient sharing of wisdom with those ready to receive it. Because humanity had learned the most important lesson of consciousness evolution, that true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the capacity to awaken others to their highest potential. The galaxy had demanded vengeance, and Earth had answered with something far more powerful, the offer of transformation. And in the quiet spaces between stars, consciousness continued its eternal work of helping the universe understand itself, one awakened mind at a time.